What's good, YouTube? It's Nas, and we back with another video. Road to 300 subscribers, of course. We're gonna keep going every day, and today I realized in my generation, not a lot of people talk about the greats. They just like acknowledge them, I guess. They're top 10, whatever. But in today's video, I'm gonna be talking about Larry Bird because I'm pretty sure a lot of people in my generation, at least, the comments. I know y'all older people, some are young, some are in their 20s, some are in their 30s. But obviously, for the people that watch Larry Bird, y'all know how great he was. But for people like me, I had to watch highlights because I wasn't born yet, and my dad tells me about him. But in today's video, we're gonna be talking about his stats, and we're gonna look at his accolades and compare him to his rival, which was Magic Johnson at the time. Man, his rookie season, 1979 to the 1980 season, Larry Bird averaged 21 points per game, 10.5 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. In the 1980 to 1981 season, he averaged 21 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. And I didn't realize that Larry was 6'9". He was 6'9", moving like that before the back injury, obviously. Back injury that he had in his own house, which is crazy. It's terrible luck, bro. So imagine what he would have looked like. Imagine if his career was longer, because he only played 12 seasons, and he was at the top of his game when he retired because his back couldn't take no more, literally. But I understand that injuries are important part of the game, but for it to happen like that, I just don't know, bro. But in the 1981 to 1982 season, his third season, he averaged 23 points per game, 11 rebounds, and basically 5.5 assists, or if you want to round it out to 6. But his playmaking is, I don't hear a lot of people when they talk about Larry Bird, I don't hear they talk about his playmaking. When people talk about Larry Bird, they often obviously talk about the jump shot and how he was able to play at his own pace, but they don't talk about how he is really one of the best underrated playmakers in this game, because he only averaged less than 5 assists one time or 2 times in his career. His rookie season and the season where he only played 6 games, which we're gonna get into. But in the 1982-1983 season, Larry averaged 23.5 points per game, 11 rebounds, and basically 6 assists. In the 1983-1984 season, he averaged 24 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 8.5 assists. And these were the years, obviously, that he was rivaling Magic Johnson, and they were fighting who really was the best player in the world at that time, because obviously Dr. J was going at the time, and Kareem was on his decline, so it was between the rivals. But in his next season, the 1983 and 1984 season, Larry averaged I already did that. In the 1984-1985 season, Larry had one of his best seasons. He averaged basically 29 points per game, 10.5 rebounds, and 6.5 assists. He was a great rebounder. A lot of these people in this era averaged a lot of 10 plus rebounds. I did a video on Charles Barkley. If I didn't see that, he averaged basically 13 rebounds a game at 6'5". So I guess they wanted it more. That's what I hear a lot of old heads say, that the people in the 80s and the 90s, they wanted it more than the people in this generation, which I guess you could see that, because obviously the money was a lot smaller than it is now. The market wasn't as high as it is now. Obviously viewership is down, yes, but these players is making way more money than people in the 80s and the 90s used to make. Because imagine Larry Bird in this generation now, he's damn near gonna be a millionaire, bro. You see, LeBron should be paid like a billionaire, but I'm not gonna even get into that because this is Larry Bird's video. But in the 1985-1986 season, Larry averaged 26 points per game, basically 10 rebounds, and basically 7 assists. And like I said, he had to carry the offensive end and playmake for his other team, playmake for his team. And then I remember on his roster, because one of his rosters, there was Kevin McHale, obviously. They were kind of a duo. They had Bill Walton off the bench one season, which was a former MVP, and Jeff Hornacek, I'm pretty sure. But that starting five was crazy. When I look at highlights or when I play 2K sometimes, I use the Celtics. But I should make a video about the old time teams. Never mind. But in the 1986-1987 season, Larry averaged 28 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 7.5 assists. In the 1987-1988 season, Larry averaged 30 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. Which, in these seasons, you could notice that he was actually reaching his peak. The last 4 seasons, he did not average less than 24 points per game, and he was at the top of his game before the injury, bro. It's just sad in sports, bro. But in the 6 games he played in the 1988-1989 season, he averaged 19 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 4.5 assists, which he was really never the same after that. But he came back in the 1989-1990 season. He played 75 games. He averaged 24 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, and 7.5 assists. And obviously, the stats are not going to look the same. It's still Larry Bird, so he's going to find a way to be productive on the basketball court because he's a legend. But it was never the same as it was, like I said. But in the 1990-1991 season, Larry averaged 19.5 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, and 7 assists, playing 60 games. And then his final season, he played 45 games. He averaged 20 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, basically 7 assists, which marked the end of his career. And I could just imagine, bro. Imagine if he never got injured during his peak season. That's what I hate seeing with basketball players. Once they reach their full stride, the injury just happens, and I guess it happened for a reason. I guess it wasn't meant to be. But Larry Bird's accolades speak for themselves. He's a 3-time NBA champion in 1981, 1984, and 1986. He was a Finals MVP twice in 1984 and 1986. He won 3 MVPs in a row, from 1984 to 1986. He was a 12-time All-Star from 1980 to his last season in 1992. He won the Rookie of the Year in 1980. He was a 3-point contest champion, and he was one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He was voted into the 50 greatest players of all time in 1996. And he went on to be a great coach for the Indiana Pacers and won Coach of the Year that season. But compared to Magic Johnson there, which you would say is he's a top 4 player of all time, or top 5, wherever you want to put Magic. But MVPs, they're tied. Larry and Magic both have 3. Finals MVP, Magic has 1 over Bird, 3-2. All NBA first team, Larry and Magic are tied 9-9. All NBA teams, Larry and Magic are tied 10-10. All defensive teams, Larry Bird has Magic 3-0. I ain't even talk about Larry Bird's defense, because a lot of people don't talk about his defense. They just talk about his offense. But when you see highlights, he was locking down other teams. He was blocking shots in his peak. Let's say that. And if you're a great rebounder, you obviously have to be somewhat of a good defender, in my opinion. But all NBA defensive first teams, Larry has 3 over Magic. Assist leaders, obviously Magic has more than Larry. Steals, steals, Magic has 2 over Larry Bird, 0. And Rookie of the Year, obviously Larry beat Magic for that award. But points per game, Larry had Magic 24 to Magic's 19.5. Rebounds per game, Larry had Magic 10-7. Assists, obviously Magic had him 11 to 6.3. Steals per game, Magic had Larry 1.9 to 1.7, that close. Blocks per game, Larry had Magic 0.8 to 0.4. But obviously they were compared to each other their whole career. But I want to know how y'all feel about Larry Bird and where do y'all rank him. I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you new. I got some videos right here. If you enjoyed this video you just watched, video on the right and video on the left, and click on it.